Jeff Bezos could spend $28 million every day for 100 years and still have money left over to run a state. That's the kind of wealth we're dealing with. But how exactly does he spend all that cash after retirement? Well, Bezos stepped down from Amazon in 2021 with a net worth of $213 billion. That's 172,000 times more than the average American retiree. But his first big expense, a $38 billion divorce settlement. Yeah, that's billion with a B. Now he's living large, but in some surprising ways. He's got a $21 million car collection with rides like the Koenigsegg, CCC CXR Trevita, and Bugatti Veyron Mansory. But get this, he still drives a 1997 Honda Accord sometimes. Guess old habits die hard, even when you're one of the richest people on Earth. From humble Honda to hypercars. So Bezos still rolls in his old Honda sometimes, but that's nothing compared to the insane cars he's got stashed away. We're talking about a $21 million collection that'll make your head spin. It's like he went from economy class to first class, but for cars. Remember that Honda Accord from '97? Bezos said it was a perfectly good car, but now he's traded up big time. His garage is packed with rides that most people only see in video games or on posters. Let's talk about the Koenigsegg CCC XR Trevita. This ain't your average supercar. There are only 3 of these bad boys in the whole world. Yeah, you heard that right. 3. And Bezos owns one of them. This car is so fancy, its carbon fiber body sparkles like a million diamonds in the sun. It's not just for show either. This beast has a 4.8-litre V8 engine pumping out 1,018 horsepower. It goes from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 2.9 seconds. That's faster than you can say Amazon Prime. But wait, there's more. Bezos also has a Bugatti Veyron Mansory in his collection. This thing is a monster with an 8-litre quad-turbocharged W16 engine. It's got 1,000 horsepower and can hit 60 miles per hour in just 2.5 seconds. Top speed, 253 miles per hour. You could probably deliver packages coast to coast in a day with that thing. The Veyron isn't just fast, it's fancy too. Bezos had Mansory, a luxury car tuning company, trick it out. We're talking custom carbon fiber body, special wheels, and a totally redone interior. This car alone is worth about $3.5 million. That's more than most people's houses. But Bezos didn't stop there. He's also got a Lamborghini Veneno Roadster. Only 13 of these were ever made. It cost him $4 million when he bought it. Then there's the Ferrari Pininfarina Sergio. This is a concept car with only 6 units in the world. Each one costs around $3 million. And if that wasn't enough, Bezos also owns a Lykan Hypersport. There are only 7 of these in existence. It's got headlights with 15-carat diamonds. Yeah, diamonds in the headlights. This car set Bezos back another $4 million. It's wild to think about Bezos cruising around in these multi-million-dollar hypercars. But what's even crazier is that he still keeps that old Honda Accord around. Maybe it's to remind him of where he started. Or maybe he just likes to blend in sometimes when he's out grabbing coffee, sailing the seas. Asking what's Bezos got that's making waves? It's a 417-foot super yacht called Kourou. That's bigger than a football field and taller than most buildings. But the really crazy part, it cost him about $500 million. Yeah, you heard that right. $500 million for a boat. But this ain't just any boat. Kourou means new beginnings in Maori, and it's definitely a new beginning for yacht design. It's got 3 huge sails that are so tall they caused all kinds of drama during construction. The masts are so big they couldn't even fit under a bridge in Rotterdam. Talk about a tight squeeze. The yacht's got a sleek black hull and a white top, kind of like a fancy tuxedo for the ocean. It's so big, Bezos needed another yacht just to land his helicopter. Because when you're that rich, one yacht just ain't enough. But what's it like inside? Well, it's packed with stuff that'll make your jaw drop. There's a private chef whipping up gourmet meals 24/7, a masseuse to work out those billionaire knots, and a whole crew of staff ready to do whatever Bezos wants. It's like a 5-star hotel that floats. And the tech on this thing, it's next level. We're talking high-speed internet that's probably faster than what you've got at home, and navigation systems that could probably guide this beast through a hurricane. But Kourou ain't the only boat in Bezos' fleet. He's also been spotted on the Flying Fox, a $400 million yacht he likes to rent for fun. Add it all up and Bezos' yacht collection is worth about $1 billion. That's not even counting all the money he spends on keeping these floating palaces running. Now you might be thinking, why does one guy need so many huge boats? Well, when you're Jeff Bezos, why not? He's got the cash to splash, and he's definitely making a splash with Kourou. But here's the thing, building a yacht this big ain't easy. It took years to finish Kourou. And there were all kinds of delays. Those massive sales caused headaches for the builders. And when it was finally ready to leave the shipyard in the Netherlands, they had to take down a historic bridge just to get it out to sea. Yeah, Bezos's boat was so big, it broke bridges, taking to the skies. You might be thinking, why does one guy need so many choppers? Well, when you're Jeff Bezos, time is money, and these flying machines save him a ton of both. Let's talk about his helicopter collection. It's like a buffet of the best birds in the sky. First up, there's the Eurocopter EC-130. This ain't your average whirlybird. It's got custom leather seats that are probably comfier than your living room couch. And get this, it's got a built-in espresso machine. Because when you're flying over the city, you gotta have your caffeine fix, right? But that's not all. Bezos also owns a Bell 429 Global Ranger. This bad boy can seat up to 7 people and zoom through the air at 178 miles per hour. It's like a sports car for the sky. And if you thought that was impressive, wait till you hear about his Sikorsky S-76. This is the same type of chopper used by the President of the United States. Yeah, Bezos is flying presidential style. This beast can go over 400 miles without stopping and fit 12 people comfortably. It's like a flying party bus for billionaires. But here's the cool part. These helicopters aren't just for show. They're a big deal in Bezos's day-to-day life. He uses them to hop between meetings, check out his properties, and even take joyrides when he feels like it. It's like having a teleporter, but way cooler. And get this, Bezos's girlfriend, Lauren Sanchez, is actually a trained helicopter pilot. She's been spotted flying him around in the EC-130. Talk about a power couple, right? They're literally flying high together. Now you might be wondering how Bezos lands these choppers when he's out on his massive yacht. Well, that's where things get really crazy. His yacht, Koru, is so fancy it can't even have a helipad on it. So what did Bezos do? He bought another yacht just to land his helicopter on. That's right, a whole extra boat just for his chopper to touch down. These flying machines aren't just about getting from A to B. They're decked out with all sorts of high-tech gadgets. We're talking state-of-the-art navigation systems that could probably fly these things to the moon if Bezos wanted. Private jets. 2 Gulfstream G650ER private jets, each worth a cool $150 million. That's right, $300 million just for his air fleet. These ain't your average planes. They're like luxury hotels with wings. The G650ER is the cream of the crop when it comes to private jets. It's got twin Rolls-Royce BR725 engines that can push this bird to speeds over 1110 kilometers per hour. That's faster than some commercial airliners. And get this, it can fly for over 13,890 kilometers without stopping. That means Bezos can fly from New York to Tokyo without breaking a sweat. But speed and range ain't everything. The inside of these jets is where things get really crazy. We're talking handcrafted sofas that turn into cozy beds, state-of-the-art entertainment systems, and even a full-size bathroom with a shower. Yeah, a shower in the sky. It's like a flying 5-star hotel suite. These jets can fit up to 19 passengers, but you know Bezos ain't cramming that many people in there. He's probably got plenty of room to stretch out and relax while he's soaring above the clouds. But why does Bezos need 2 of these flying mansions? Well, when you're one of the richest guys on the planet, you gotta have options. Plus, these jets save him tons of time. He can zip between his properties, business meetings, and whatever else billionaires do in their free time. The G650ER is already a beast, but Bezos didn't stop there. He's also got a Bombardier Global 7500. This thing can fly even further than the Gulfstream, over 14,000 kilometers. It's got 4 living spaces inside, including a full-sized kitchen, dining area, and a private bedroom. It's basically a flying apartment. All this luxury comes with a hefty price tag. Bezos's private jet collection is worth $1 billion. Yeah, that's billion with a B, and that's not even counting all the money he spends on fuel, maintenance, and staff to keep these birds in the air. But for Bezos, it's worth every penny. These jets let him travel the world on his own schedule. No waiting in security lines or dealing with delayed flights. He can take off whenever he wants and land wherever he needs to be. It's wild to think about Bezos cruising at 45,000 feet in one of these luxurious jets. While the rest of us are cramped in economy, he's probably sipping champagne and taking a shower mid-flight. That's the kind of lifestyle you can afford when you're worth over $100 billion. A home in every haven. Let's start with his Beverly Hills pad. Bezos dropped a cool $165 million on this Georgian-style mansion. Yeah, you heard that right. $165 million. That's more than most of us will make in 10 lifetimes. But what do you get for that kind of cash? Well, this place is huge. We're talking 13,600 square feet of pure luxury. It's got 8 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms. The inside is decked out with dark hardwood floors and fancy white walls. It's like something out of a movie. But the real kicker, this place is completely private. High hedges and a big gate keep out prying eyes. And get this, it's got 3 greenhouses, 2 guest houses, a pool, a tennis court, and even a golf course. It's like a mini resort just for Bezos. But that's not all. Bezos also owns a piece of history in Washington, D.C. He bought an old textile museum in the fancy Kalorama neighborhood for $23 million. Then he spent another $12 million fixing it up. Now it's a mega mansion fit for a tech king. This DC pad is even bigger than the Beverly Hills one. It's got nearly 27,000 square feet of space with 11 bedrooms and 25 bathrooms. Yeah, 25 bathrooms. I guess when you gotta go, you've got options. It's also got 5 living areas and a ballroom that's 1,500 square feet on its own. That's bigger than most people's whole apartments. But Bezos ain't done yet. He's got a massive estate in Medina, Washington. He started with a 5.3-acre property with a 20,600 square foot main house. That cost him $10 million. But then he bought the house next door for $50 million and combined them. Now he's got 310 feet of shoreline all to himself. And we can't forget about New York. Bezos owns a 3-story penthouse on 5th Avenue that set him back $80 million. This place is fancy with a capital F. We're talking custom marble floors, huge windows, and a private elevator that goes straight to a rooftop terrace. Talk about a room with a view. But one floor wasn't enough for Bezos. He bought another 3-bedroom condo in the same building for $16 million. And that's on top of the 4 floors he already owned in that building. He paid $80 million for those. This guy's buying New York 1 floor at a time. Last but not least, Bezos has got a sweet spot in Hawaii. He dropped $78 million on a 14-acre property in Maui. It's got a 4,500 square foot main house and a guest house that's 1,700 square feet. Both are built in the old Hawaiian plantation style. It's like having your own private paradise. Space. With all this, Bezos ain't just content with ruling the skies here on Earth. He's got his own rocket company called Blue Origin. It's like SpaceX, but with more Bezos. He started this thing way back in 2000, way before he even thought about retiring from Amazon. That's how serious he is about space. But here's the crazy part. Bezos has been selling $1 billion worth of Amazon shares every year just to fund Blue Origin. Yeah, you heard that right. $1 billion a year on rockets. That's more than most of us will see in our lifetime. So what's he doing with all that cash? Well, for starters, he's building rockets. Big ones. They've got this thing called New Shepard that's already taken people to space. It's like a giant bottle rocket, but instead of fireworks, it's got people inside. And get this, Bezos himself took a ride on one of these things. Back in July 2021, he strapped himself into New Shepard and blasted off to the edge of space. The whole trip only lasted about 11 minutes, but it made Bezos a bona fide astronaut. Well, a commercial astronaut anyway. But Bezos ain't stopping there. He's got plans for even bigger rockets. There's one called New Glenn that's supposed to carry heavier stuff to orbit. Maybe even people someday. It's named after John Glenn, one of the first American astronauts. Guess Bezos is trying to follow in some pretty big footsteps. Now you might be thinking, why is this guy so obsessed with space? Well, Bezos has got this wild idea that we need to move all our heavy industries up there to save Earth. Yeah, he wants to turn space into one big factory. Sounds like sci-fi, but when you've got billions to burn, why not dream big? But here's the thing, all this space stuff ain't cheap. Blue Origin's been running for over 20 years now and it still ain't making money. But Bezos doesn't seem to care. He just keeps pouring cash into it like it's his personal piggy bank. And it's not just Bezos' money going into this thing. Blue Origin's also gotten about $300 million in research funding from the US government. Guess Uncle Sam wants in on the space action too. So while most retired billionaires are out there buying islands or sports teams, Bezos is building rockets and flying to space. It's like the ultimate retirement hobby. But instead of model trains, it's actual spaceships. Between July 2021 and August 2022, Blue Origin made about $50 million just from selling tickets on New Shepard. That might sound like a lot, but remember, Bezos is dumping $1 billion a year into this thing, so it's going to take a while before space tourism starts paying off. But for Bezos, it's not just about the money. He's got this big vision of millions of people living and working in space someday. It's like he wants to be the Christopher Columbus of the final frontier. Only instead of sailing ships, he's got rockets, and instead of the new world, he's aiming for, well, new worlds. The billionaire's bucket list. This guy's got some seriously wild possessions that'll make your head spin. We're talking about things so unique and valuable, they make his car collection look like pocket change. So what's Bezos got stashed away? Well, for starters, he's got this crazy clock that's gonna tick for 10,000 years. Yeah, you heard that right. 10,000 years. It's called the Long Now clock, and it's not just some fancy watch. This thing is 500 feet tall, and it's being built inside a mountain in West Texas. Bezos dropped $42 million on this project. That's more than most people will make in their entire lives, and he's spending it on a clock that'll outlive us all. But why would anyone build a clock that lasts 10,000 years? Well, Bezos says it's all about thinking long-term. He wants this clock to remind people that the future is real and it's coming for our kids and grandkids. It's like he's trying to be some kind of time wizard, making us all think about what'll happen centuries from now. This clock ain't just for show either. It's got some serious tech behind it. It's mechanical, powered by day and night temperature changes, and it syncs up with the sun at noon. It ticks once a year, chimes once every 1,000 years, and the cuckoo comes out on the millennium. Talk about playing the long game. But Bezos ain't just into old-school mechanics. He's also got his eyes on the cutting edge. Remember that robot dog that went viral a few years back? The one that looks like it could chase you down in a sci-fi movie? Well, Bezos owns one of those too. It's called Spot, and it's made by a company called Boston Dynamics. Bezos took his RoboPup for a walk at an Amazon conference back in 2018, and people lost their minds. This thing can open doors, climb stairs, and probably fetch the newspaper better than any real dog. And it should, considering it costs $74,500. That's more than some people spend on their actual cars. But here's the thing about Bezos' collection. It's not just about having expensive stuff. It seems like he's trying to collect things that push the boundaries of what's possible. Whether it's a clock that'll outlast civilization or a robot dog straight out of the future, Bezos is all about owning pieces of tomorrow. It's like he's got his own personal museum of the future. While other billionaires are buying sports teams or mega yachts, Bezos is out there collecting things that most people can't even imagine. A clock in a mountain, a robot dog. What's next? A personal rocket to Mars. Oh wait, he's already working on that with Blue Origin. Philanthropy? Nah, he's got his sights set on something way bigger. Saving the whole dang planet. So what's Bezos doing with all those billions? Well, he's got this thing called the Bezos Earth Fund. It's like a giant piggy bank for the environment, but instead of pennies, it's packed with $10 billion. Yeah, you heard that right, $10 billion bucks. That's more than most countries spend on fighting climate change. But Bezos ain't just writing checks and calling it a day. He's got a plan to spend all that cash over the next decade. We're talking about funding everything from saving forests to fixing up ecosystems. It's like he's trying to be Captain Planet, but with a lot more money and a lot less green hair. Now, you might be thinking, why is Bezos so obsessed with saving the Earth? Well, maybe he figures if he's going to blast off to space, he better make sure there's still a nice planet to come back to. Or maybe he just likes trees. Who knows? But here's the thing. Bezos ain't just throwing money at the environment. He's also got his wallet open for other stuff too. Like during the whole COVID mess, he dropped $100 million on Feeding America to help food banks. That's a lot of sandwiches. And get this, Bezos gave $200 million to the Smithsonian. That's the biggest gift they've ever gotten. Guess he really likes museums. Or maybe he's just trying to make sure there's a nice place to put all his stuff when he's done with it. But how does Bezos stack up against other billionaires when it comes to giving away cash? Well, he's definitely playing in the big leagues. Guys like Bill Gates are all about global health, and Elon Musk is off in his own world with his tech stuff. But Bezos, he's going all in on Mother Nature. It's like Bezos is trying to outdo everyone else, but instead of buying the biggest yacht or the fanciest house, he's trying to save the biggest thing of all, the whole planet. It's kind of wild when you think about it. Most people are happy if they can save up enough for a new phone, but Bezos is out here trying to save the world. Security. So what's it take to keep the Amazon King safe? Well, for starters, he's got a personal security detail that'd make the Secret Service jealous. We're talking about a team of ex-military and law enforcement pros who are with him 24/7. These guys ain't just there to look tough. They're trained in everything from counter-surveillance to emergency response. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Bezos has got a whole fleet of over 24 vehicles just for security. It's like he's got his own private army on wheels. And you better believe these rides ain't your average soccer mum vans. They're decked out with all sorts of high-tech gadgets to keep the big boss safe. Now you might be thinking, surely that's enough, right? Wrong. Bezos ain't taking any chances. He's also got some serious cybersecurity systems in place. Because let's face it, in today's world, hackers can be just as dangerous as any physical threat. But what about when Bezos wants to kick back at home? Well, his properties are like fortresses. We're talking high-tech alarm systems, motion detectors, and private security staff. It's like Fort Knox, but with better furniture. And when Bezos hits the road, that's when things get really wild. His travel plans are more detailed than most military operations. He's got pre-checked routes, secure accommodations, and a whole communication system to keep his security team in the loop. And don't even think about catching him in coach. Bezos flies private all the way. His Gulfstream G650ER is loaded with state-of-the-art security features. But all this protection comes with a hefty price tag. How much? Try $1.6 million a year. Yeah, you heard that right. Bezos is dropping more on security every year than most people will make in their entire lives. And here's the kicker, all this security stuff. It ain't just about keeping Bezos safe, it's changing the way he lives his whole life. Every move he makes, every place he goes, it's all got to be coordinated with his security team. It's like he's living in a bubble, but a really expensive high-tech bubble. Exclusive clubs and circles. Talking about the kind of exclusive clubs and circles where even millionaires can't get past the velvet rope. It's a world most of us will never see, but for Bezos, it's just another Tuesday. So what's on the social calendar for a guy worth over $100 billion? Well, for starters, there's the Amazon Mars conference in Palm Springs. This ain't your average tech meetup. It's like Comic-Con for billionaires, but instead of cosplay, they're showing off robots. Bezos made a splash at one of these shindigs by walking in with his robo-dog spot. Talk about a power move. But Bezos ain't just hanging out with tech bros. He's also rubbing elbows with the media crowd. Remember when he bought the Washington Post for $250 million back in 2013? That wasn't just a business deal, it was like buying a VIP pass to the world of journalism. Now he's got connections from newsrooms to boardrooms, and when Bezos wants to flex his philanthropic muscles, he's got options. He's known for hosting charity auctions and fundraisers that rake in millions. It's like a high-stakes game of who can write the biggest check, but for a good cause. Plus, it's a great way to network with other loaded folks who are feeling generous. But here's where things get really wild. Bezos' social circle is like a real-life Game of Thrones, minus the dragons. We're talking business moguls, politicians, and influencers all vying for a piece of the Bezos pie. These ain't just fancy dinner parties. They're chances to make deals that could change the world. And let's not forget about Bezos' girlfriend, Lauren Sanchez. She ain't just arm candy. This lady's a trained helicopter pilot who's been spotted flying Bezos around in his Eurocopter EC-130. Talk about a power couple. With her connections in the aviation and media worlds, she's opening up even more doors for Bezos. Daily life. While most retirees are sipping coffee and reading the paper, Bezos is waking up in a high-tech smart home that probably costs more than most people's entire retirement savings. So what's a typical day like for the Amazon King? Well, it starts early. Bezos is up at the crack of dawn, usually around 5 a.m., but he ain't rushing to beat traffic or punch a clock. Nah, he's got a whole different agenda. First things first, breakfast. But this ain't your average bowl of cereal. Bezos is chowing down on gourmet grub whipped up by his personal chef. We're talking fresh squeezed juices, organic eggs from his own chicken coop, and maybe even some caviar if he's feeling fancy. Meanwhile, most retirees are microwaving oatmeal or grabbing a granola bar. After breakfast, Bezos hits the gym, but this ain't your local YMCA. He's got a state-of-the-art fitness center right in his house, complete with all the latest equipment and a personal trainer on standby. While the average retiree might be doing some light stretches or a leisurely walk, Bezos is pumping iron and crushing cardio like he's training for the Olympics. Once he's worked up a sweat, it's time to get down to business. But Bezos ain't heading to an office. He's got meetings all over the world and he's jetting off to them in his private plane. One day he might be in New York City, the next in Dubai. It's like he's playing global hopscotch while most retirees are planning their next trip to the local mall. But here's where things get weird. Despite all his fancy tech and billions in the bank, Bezos still does some pretty normal stuff. He's been known to wash his own dishes after meals. Yeah, the guy who could buy a new set of plates for every meal actually rolls up his sleeves and scrubs pots and pans. It's like seeing a unicorn do the laundry. And get this, Bezos is big on family time. He makes sure to have dinner with his kids whenever he can. It's like he's trying to be a regular dad, just one who happens to own a rocket company on the side. But don't think Bezos is all work and no play. When he wants to unwind, he goes big. We're talking about kite surfing on his private beach in Hawaii or taking joyrides in his helicopter. Meanwhile, the average retiree is probably watching reruns or tending to their garden. At the end of the day, Bezos might curl up with a good book. But knowing him, it's probably some high-tech e-reader that hasn't even hit the market yet. Or maybe he's plotting his next move to take over the world, who knows? One thing's for sure, Bezos' daily life is a wild mix of extreme luxury and surprising normality. He's got all the money in the world, but he still does dishes and has family dinners. It's like he's trying to keep one foot in the regular world while the rest of him is living in a sci-fi movie. The price tag of luxury. Let's break it down. First up, there's his $500 million super yacht, Koru. That thing ain't cheap to keep floating. We're talking millions just in fuel and crew costs every year. Then there's his fleet of private jets. Those Gulfstream G650ERs cost about $3 million each just to operate annually, and that's before he even takes off. But wait, there's more. Bezos drops serious coin on real estate too. He's got mansions all over the place, from Beverly Hills to DC to New York. The property taxes alone on these places could probably fund a small town. And don't forget about maintenance. When your house has its own ballroom, you know the cleaning bill ain't gonna be cheap. Now let's talk about his personal expenses. Bezos ain't clipping coupons for his groceries. He's got personal chefs whipping up gourmet meals every day. And his wardrobe. You better believe those suits cost more than most people's cars. But here's the crazy part. Even with all this spending, Bezos' wealth keeps growing. It's like he's got a money tree in his backyard, but instead of leaves, it's sprouting $100 bills. So how much does all this add up to? Well, some experts estimate Bezos' annual expenses could be over $1 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. That's more than the GDP of some small island nations. It's like Bezos is running his own country, but instead of citizens, he's got yachts and mansions. But don't think Bezos is just throwing money around without a care. This guy's still making bank. His Amazon shares alone are worth billions, and they keep going up. Plus, he's got Blue Origin, his space company, which could be the next big thing. It's like he's playing with Monopoly money, but in real life. And let's not forget about his other investments. Bezos has got his fingers in all sorts of pies, from tech startups to real estate, so while he's spending a fortune, he's also making one. It's wild to think about. Most people stress about their monthly bills, but Bezos is out here spending more than some countries make in a year, and he's still getting richer. It's like he's playing a different game than the rest of us. Public perception. So how do people see the Amazon king now that he's not calling the shots at his mega company? Well, it's complicated. On one hand, Bezos is living it up like a real-life Tony Stark. He's got mansions, yachts, and even his own rocket company. It's the kind of lifestyle most people can only dream about. But here's the thing. Not everyone's a fan of Bezos' big spending. When he dropped $500 million on that super yacht Koru, people lost their minds. It's like, while the rest of us are worrying about gas prices, Bezos is out here buying boats that cost more than some countries' GDPs. And it ain't just the yacht that's got people talking. Remember that $165 million mansion he bought in Beverly Hills? Or how about that $78 million pad in Hawaii? It's like Bezos is playing Monopoly, but with real houses and hotels. But the real kicker, all this fancy living is happening while some folks are saying Amazon workers ain't getting a fair shake. It's got people wondering if Bezos is more Scrooge McDuck than Santa Claus. Now, Bezos ain't the only billionaire living large. But compared to some other mega-rich folks, he's catching a lot more heat. Take Elon Musk, for example. That guy's out there living in a $50,000 prefab house, and people think he's some kind of humble genius. Meanwhile, Bezos buys a clock inside a mountain and folks lose their minds. But it ain't all bad press for Bezos. His Bezos Earth Fund is dropping billions to fight climate change. That's got some people thinking maybe he's not just another greedy billionaire after all. And let's not forget about his space dreams. While some folks think Blue Origin is just a billionaire's playground, others see it as the future of humanity. It's like Bezos is trying to be both Bill Gates and Neil Armstrong at the same time. But here's where things get really wild. Even with all the controversy, Bezos still manages to keep a pretty low profile. He ain't out there tweeting up a storm like some other billionaires we could name. It's like he's trying to be the world's richest ninja or something. The future of Bezos' fortune. Bezos might still cruise in that old Honda, but his future plans are anything but ordinary. This guy's got his sights set on some wild stuff. We're talking about investing billions in space travel, fighting climate change, and maybe even cracking the code on aging. It's like he's trying to solve all the world's problems with his fortune. But Bezos ain't just thinking about himself. He's setting up his kids and grandkids to be loaded for generations. With all that Amazon stock and his other investments, the Bezos name could be on the world's richest list for a long, long time. And don't think Bezos is just gonna fade away. He's building a legacy that's gonna outlast us all. From that 10,000-year clock in the mountain to his space company Blue Origin, Bezos is playing the long game. It's like he's trying to be remembered as the guy who changed the world, not just the dude who made online shopping easy.